We are living in a moment that political scientists refer to as the recession of the third wave of democracy. What they mean by this is that in its modern form, democracy has risen and fallen in a series of waves since the early 19th century. The first wave rose with the revolutions in the United States and France, bringing democracy, imperfect though it was, to the modern era, and then fell. A second wave rose after World War II, with the formerly imperial powers receding, formerly colonized nations becoming independent and free, many initially becoming democratic, and then that wave crashing as many of those democracies fell backwards into dictatorship and authoritarianism. And then finally, in the final quarter of the 20th century, the third wave of democracy rose as democracy spread to its furthest reaches yet, reaching more countries and people than at any point in human history. But that wave crested and peaked in the early aughts, and since then has gone into reverse. As democracy has receded in nations around the world, people are more and more living under non-democratic forms of government. What you're looking at here is a graph from the Swedish Institute Varieties of Democracy, which shows the percentage of the world's population living under democratic government. That middle graph, that black line in the middle with the gray band around it, shows the percentage of the total global population living under democratic government. And you can see over the last decade, it has gone off of a cliff. Next. As democracy has receded, what has been rising in its place is what political scientists refer to as a new form of government, hybrid authoritarianism or competitive authoritarianism. And they give it that unique name because it differs from non-democratic forms of government that were prevalent in the 20th century. In the 20th century, when democracy died, first, typically it happened at the barrel of a gun, tanks rolling into the town square. Second, when it died, it was absolute. Those who came to power abolished democracy outright, banned elections, competitive parties, and created one-party dictatorships. Both of those two things tend to be different in the 21st century. With the exception of what is happening in Ukraine, more often in the 21st century, democracy has not died at the barrel of a gun, but rather through an anti-democratic government coming to power through an election, and then once in power, dismantling democracy from within. But when they do that, they have maintained the veneer of democracy. They've maintained legislatures and courts, opposing parties, and even elections. But those elections are not free and fair.